In 1973, Enter the Dragon changed action movies forever. But what happened to the stars after the camera stopped rolling is even more remarkable. One cast member appeared to predict his own death just weeks before it happened.
Man, you come right out of a comic book.
Another future global superstar appeared so briefly that most viewers missed him entirely. And while some of the film's biggest names are gone, several cast members are surprisingly still alive today.
Now you put water into a cup, it becomes the cup. You put water into a bottle, it becomes the bottle. You put in a...
Let's find out what became of the Enter the Dragon cast. But before we get anywhere near Bruce's last days, let's start with the cast member almost everyone forgets. Betty Chung. She played Mei Ling, the quiet undercover agent feeding secrets to Bruce from inside Han's Island. Easy to overlook. But here's what you'd never guess watching her. Betty Chung was a genuine pop star.
Where do you come from?
The kind who won a national singing contest at 16 and recorded in English, Mandarin, and Cantonese. Her English was so flawless, people swore she'd grown up in America. She hadn't. And then she just stepped away.
Married
a famous songwriter, left the spotlight in the 1980s, and disappeared from public life entirely. So is she still with us? Yes! Betty Chung is alive, in her late 70s, living quietly in Southern California. She walked away from fame on purpose. The next man did the exact opposite. He kept crossing oceans to chase it. Roy Chiao. Roy Chiao played Braithwaite, the calm British intelligence officer who recruits Bruce and sets the whole mission in motion.
The point of spiritual insight.
And his real life was wilder than the part. Born in Shanghai, fluent in 5 languages, he served as a U.S. Army interpreter during the Korean War and was discharged a captain. Then he became the Lion of Cinema, a towering leading man across 90 films. You've probably seen him again without realizing it.
Now, you must remember, the enemy has only images.
A decade later, he played Lao Che, the white-suited gangster who poisons Indiana Jones at the start of Temple of Doom. Off camera, he was a devout Christian who built a support network for struggling actors. 3 heart attacks finally caught up with him. The last one took him in 1999 at 72, reportedly while he was behind the wheel of his car. Believe it or not, one actor in this cast would end up more recognizable worldwide than half the film's main stars. I'll show you who. But first, a beautiful face and a story that ends far too soon. Anna Capri. Anna Capri played Tanya, the glamorous blonde gliding through Han's Island on his arm like she owned the place. She nearly stole every scene she was in.
Sure, he balled you. He balls a lot of women. He's a star, honey. He gets the best things in life. I don't blame him. If I were a man, I'd ball you.
Born in Budapest, she came to America as a refugee child and grew up on 1950s television before becoming a 1970s screen siren. On this film, she did her own stunts, got banged up doing them, and afterward called Bruce one of the sweetest men she'd ever met. Then comes the part that's genuinely hard to hear. In August 2010, Anna was driving in North Hollywood when a 5-ton truck slammed into her car. She held on for 11 days in a coma. Then she was gone at 66. And sadly, Anna wasn't the only one here whose story ended far sooner than anyone expected. Keep that in the back of your mind, because next up is the face you picture when you hear the word villain. Shih Kien. Shih Kien was Han, the one-handed crime lord with the metal claw, pure menace from his first frame to his last. In real life, about as far from a monster as you can imagine. He was a sickly kid in southern China who took up kung fu just to survive, then spent 50 years becoming the most beloved bad guy in Hong Kong cinema.
O'Hara's treachery has disgraced us.
Around 350 films. Audiences adored him so much, they nicknamed him Villain Kien. One detail most viewers miss: that booming English voice coming out of Han wasn't even his. It was dubbed. Shih Kien barely spoke the language. He outlived Bruce by 36 years, collected Lifetime Achievement Awards.
The battle with the gods was magnificent. Your skill is extraordinary. And I was going to ask you to join us.
And died in 2009 at 96. Now here's something funny. The most terrifying villain in this movie was not considered the toughest fighter on that set. Not even close. We'll meet the real powerhouse in a minute. But first, the man who actually made Bruce Lee bleed. Robert Wall. Bob Wall played O'Hara, Han's brutal bodyguard, the man who murdered Bruce's sister and signs his own death warrant the moment he steps on that mat. Wall wasn't pretending. He was a 9th degree black belt and Chuck Norris's longtime training partner. So when Bruce wanted a fight that looked dangerously real, Wall was the man. And it got real. In the scene where O'Hara comes at Bruce with smashed bottles, those were actual glass. Bruce insisted on it, and his hand got cut badly enough to need stitches, halting production. Wall later said Bruce warned him beforehand that he intended to hit him and hit him hard, and that the kicks were savage enough to crack his ribs. Here's a thread worth holding on to.
O'Hara!
Bruce once said that a single real fight years before this movie completely changed the way he trained, and that decision would go on to reshape martial arts forever. We'll come back to that story. It matters more than you think. Bob Wall died in January 2022 at 82. About Bruce, he once said the money never mattered. He simply loved the kid. So who was that toughest man on set I promised you? Here he comes. Bolo Yeung. Bolo Yeung played, fittingly, Bolo, the silent slab of muscle who looks like he could fold a man in half. That body was no costume trick. Yang Soo was a competitive bodybuilder, crowned Mr. Hong Kong 10 years running, nicknamed the Chinese Hercules. And here's a fact that sounds invented. To escape communist China in the 1960s, he reportedly swam to Hong Kong.
Bruce Lee, and then Jean-Claude Van Damme, and then who? After Jean-Claude Van Damme, who is the next? Nobody.
The man swam to his freedom, then built a whole career on being the scariest guy in the frame. Bruce handpicked him for this film, and the two were close friends. But what happened to Bolo afterward might top everything. 15 years later, a brand new generation met him as Chong Li, the bone-snapping monster who terrorized Jean-Claude Van Damme in Bloodsport. "You Are Next" became a line every kid quoted at the gym. And get this, Bolo's still here. Pushing 80, still training, still built like a tank.
Van Damme is this one. But Bruce Lee is...
Every now and then a fake photo goes viral claiming he's frail or gone. Don't fall for it. The man is alive and well. Now retention usually starts slipping right about here, so stay with me, because this next story is one most fans have never heard. Marlene Clark. Marlene Clark had a small part here, one of the women orbiting Roper and Saxon. Blink and you'll miss her, but her life off-screen was anything but small. A fashion model out of Harlem, she became a striking presence in 1970s cinema. Her signature film, Ganja and Hess, is now considered a landmark of black horror, so respected that Spike Lee remade it decades later. Millions knew her from the sitcom Sanford and Son, and here's the twist nobody sees coming. Before all of it, Marlene Clark was married to Billy D. Williams. Yes, Lando Calrissian himself. Then she quietly faded from Hollywood and lived out of the spotlight for decades. Marlene Clark died in May 2023 at 85. But her disappearing act wasn't even the strangest career turn in this cast. Two more are coming. One tragic, one triumphant. First though, the woman who became a superstar in her own right. Angela Mao. While Bruce was conquering the world, another martial artist from this very film was quietly building a legend of her own. Angela Mao played Su Lin.
Okay, you come in. One more. I'm frightened of her. I'm terrified of her. You wouldn't happen if that hit there?
Bruce's doomed sister in the flashback, the woman who'd rather die than be captured. She's barely on screen. And here's the kicker. She was reportedly paid just $100 for it. But Angela Mao didn't need this movie. Back in Hong Kong, she was already enormous. Lady Kung Fu, the female Bruce Lee, trained in Peking opera since she was a little girl. One of her own films actually knocked Enter the Dragon off the top of the box office. She beat Bruce on his home turf. Tarantino later borrowed one of her fight scenes for Kill Bill. Then, in the 90s, she vanished so completely that fans wondered if she died. The truth? She'd moved to Queens, New York, where reporters eventually found her years later, alive and well, running a string of Chinese restaurants surrounded by her old film posters. She's around 75 today, and as remarkable as Angela's story is, it can't quite match what happened to the next man, the one whose own road to stardom started with a fake crime scene. John Saxon. This is the one I want you to settle in for. John Saxon, Roper, the slick American gambler running from his debts, the man standing shoulder to shoulder with Bruce Lee. But forget the movie for a second, because how he got to Hollywood sounds like a setup for a thriller.
I have a funny feeling we're being fattened up for the kill.
He was a Brooklyn kid named Carmine Arico who skipped school one afternoon and got spotted by a modeling agent. Soon he was posing for Pulp magazine covers, and one of those photos showed him slumped against a garbage can playing a man who'd just been shot dead, his girlfriend screaming over the body.
More a suspense film than a horror film. I think it was a wonderful film. Yeah.
What did you think of Bruce Lee?
Well, what I thought of him is when I first met him.
That single staged photograph of a fake murder is what caught the eye of Henry Wilson, the most powerful and notorious star maker in Hollywood, the man who built Rock Hudson. Wilson renamed the 17-year-old John Saxon and shipped him west overnight. Then Saxon spent years fighting to be taken seriously, clawing past his pretty boy image. He pulled it off. He even won a Golden Globe trading blows with Marlon Brando in the Appaloosa.
Well, it wasn't Marlon's peak desire of films at that time.
And here's the quiet irony of Enter the Dragon. Saxon wasn't a real martial artist, not next to Bruce and a world karate champion. He was, frankly, faking the fighting. But Bruce respected him anyway. Saxon said Bruce actually listened to him, let him try things his own way. High praise from a perfectionist. Years later, he became immortal to a whole new audience as the cop father in A Nightmare on Elm Street, Nancy's dad, the one who never believes the nightmares are real. 60 years, more than 200 roles. John Saxon died of pneumonia in July 2020 at 83. And yet, as unforgettable as Saxon was, many fans would argue another man in this cast became even more influential to the generations that followed. Let's talk about him. Jim Kelly. Jim Kelly was Williams. The afro, the swagger, the cool that jumps off the screen. The man who stares Han down, refuses to bow, and pays for it with his life.
Man, you come right out of a comic book.
Off-screen, Kelly was no actor playing dress-up. He was a world middleweight karate champion who opened a studio so respected that Hollywood came calling. Enter the Dragon made him a star, and he rode it into a run of classics like Black Belt Jones, becoming the first black martial arts hero a lot of kids ever saw. For a moment, he was untouchable. Then came the decline most people don't know about. The roles dried up. So Kelly did something almost unheard of. He reinvented himself entirely as a professional tennis player, climbing to number 2 in the US senior circuit. He shrugged off the fall with grace, saying he never really left the movies just stopped calling. Jim Kelly died of cancer in June 2013 at 67. Now, if you think Jim Kelly's rise was something, wait until you hear how a future global megastar almost went completely unnoticed in this film. But first, the chubby kid Bruce beat up in the opening 8 minutes, who became a giant, Sammo Hung. If you blinked during the very first fight, before the title even appears, you missed him. Bruce spars with a stocky young opponent, takes him to the ground, and forces him to tap out. That's Sammo Hung. Back then, he was a no-name stuntman grinding for scraps. Film nerds love that exchange, by the way. Bare knuckle, on the mat, an arm bar, because it looks eerily like modern MMA 2 full decades before the UFC existed. Bruce was basically predicting the future, and the kid who tapped out, he became one of the grand masters of Hong Kong cinema, a beloved star, a pioneer of kung fu comedy, the action director behind the Ip Man films. In his 70s now, still here, still working, an elder statesman of the entire genre. Which makes me say something that's going to start an argument. The single biggest success story to come out of Enter the Dragon might not be Bruce Lee at all. Stay with me because here's my case. Jackie Chan. Most people watch this movie their entire lives and never spot him, but in the underground cave brawl near the end, Bruce grabs a henchman, yanks his head back, and snaps his neck. That henchman is a 19-year-old dead broke stuntman named Jackie Chan. And there's a moment here Jackie still calls one of the greatest of his life. During the fight, Bruce accidentally cracked him in the face with a stick. Real pain, real contact. Bruce was so horrified he dropped everything, scooped Jackie up, and hugged him, apologizing over and over, promising the kid could work on every film he ever made. Jackie has admitted he exaggerated how hurt he was, because he didn't want Bruce to let go of the hug. Bruce died before he could keep that promise. Jackie didn't need it. Drunken Master, Police Story, Rush Hour. He did his own bone-breaking stunts and turned himself into the most famous action star on the planet. He's past 70 now and still going. A nobody on this set who became a worldwide icon. That's my argument. And yet, for all of it, the most haunting story from Enter the Dragon still belongs to the man at the center of it all. The one who never lived to see what he created. Bruce Lee. 3 things you need to know going in. Weeks before he died, Bruce Lee made a chilling statement about his own life.
When you hear the word martial arts, you think Bruce Lee. And that's not just in America, that's globally. People think Bruce Lee because he embodied the martial spirit, the true spirit of the martial arts.
Doctors watched something happen to his body that they could not explain. And one decision he made after a single fight changed martial arts forever. Hold all 3. Bruce Junfan Lee was born in San Francisco in 1940, in the Year of the Dragon, during the Hour of the Dragon.
You could feel the room come alive when Bruce bounded in. Bruce never walked into a room, he entered a room.
He grew up in Hong Kong, a child actor in around 20 films, learning Wing Chun as a teenager. He had everything Hollywood claimed to want, except the one thing it couldn't get past: his face. When a TV series about a Chinese martial artist wandering the Old West was developed, Bruce was passed over. The lead went to a white actor instead. He was, in his own country's industry, too Chinese for America. Now that fight I promised. Years earlier, a rival challenged Bruce over teaching Kung Fu to Westerners. Bruce won, but it took longer than he thought it should, and left him gasping. He was so disgusted with his own performance that he tore his entire fighting philosophy down to the studs and rebuilt it, inventing his own art. Jeet Kune Do. That's the decision. It's the seed of everything modern fighters do today. And the thing audiences couldn't believe?
If there's any irony in all of this about the greatest, is that he demythologized particular martial arts.
He was so fast, the cameras genuinely struggled to capture him. They had to slow the film down so you could even see what he'd done. Then his body betrayed him. A severe back injury that doctors said might end his career for good. He spent months flat on his back. He came back stronger. In May 1973, while dubbing dialogue for Enter the Dragon in a sweltering sealed room, Bruce collapsed. His brain had begun to swell. Doctors stabilized him and sent him home, baffled. Then, on July 20th, 1973, it happened again. He'd taken a common painkiller for a headache and lain down at the apartment of an actress named Betty Ting Pei. He never woke up. His brain had swollen by roughly 13%. He was 32. But here's the most unsettling part, and it's not how he died. It's what he reportedly said before it. Bruce is said to have believed he would never live to even half his father's age. His father died at 64. Bruce died at 32. He's also said to have feared his son would die young. 20 years later, his son Brandon Lee was killed by a prop gun that should never have been loaded. On a film set, at 28, both of them gone on their 5th feature. Try telling a grieving fan there's no curse. His friends carried his coffin. His film opened weeks later and made a fortune off almost nothing. It launched a genre, reshaped action cinema, inspired Jackie Chan and the whole world of MMA, and made the man immortal. He just never got to see a single frame of it succeed. So, more than 50 years on, only a handful of this cast are still with us. Betty Chung, Bolo Yeung, Angela Mao, Sammo Hung, and Jackie Chan. The rest have taken their final bow. And remember the man at the very start, the one who seemed to predict his own death? Fans still argue about what Bruce really meant. But every time a fighter steps into a cage, every time an action hero throws a punch on screen, the dragon is right there with them. He died before the world said his name. It hasn't stopped saying it since.